In this video, we are going to look at solving basic equations. An equation is just a statement that two expressions are equal. I'm sure you guys knew that already. And here are just some basic guidelines, what we want to keep in mind, what we're going to be doing when we're solving. The first, if you have any, remove grouping symbols. That means get rid of any parentheses. And we usually do that by using distribution. Next up, you want to combine any like terms, and that's before we start moving stuff around. And then our third step, add or subtract to move variables to one side and constants to the other. It doesn't matter which side you put your variable on and which side you put your constants on. And then finally, multiply or divide to remove the coefficient and isolate the variable. We'll probably want to add one more step in here, and that is that we should check our final answer. Okay, so we're going to start off real basic here. Our first one, 10x minus 13 equals 7, and the directions for this one would tell us to solve for x. So if we want to get this x variable by itself, the first thing we need to do is move this 13 over to the other side. So to get rid of a minus 13, we're going to add 13. If we do that on the left, we need to also do it on the right to keep our equation in balance. When we do that, we get 10x. These two 13s go away. And equals 7 plus 13 is 20. Next up, again, we're trying to get x by itself. Since we have 10 times x, to isolate that x, we need to divide by 10. And we end up with x equals 2. That one was pretty straightforward, but we should check our answer just to be safe. So we want to know, does 10 times 2 minus 13 really equal 7? Well, 10 times 2 is 20. And 20 minus 13 is 7. So this is a true statement. That means our answer does check out. And there's our solution. Okay, let's look at another one. In this one, we do have one set of parentheses, so we have a little more work we need to do, but it's not bad. Again, we want to get rid of those parentheses, and we do that by distributing the x. We'll leave the left side alone for now. Just copy that down. So 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 3x is 18x. Now we're ready to get x's on one side and constants on the other. Since I already have 18x over here, I'm probably just going to move my 6x over to go with it. $18x and 6x gives me 24x. Since my x's are over here on the right, I want to move my constants over to the left. So I end up with negative 24 equals 24x. Last step, divide both sides by 24. And I get that x is negative 1. Again, let's check our answer. So negative 1 goes in place of x, and we want to know, does that really equal the right side? Okay, over here on the left, we do this multiplication first. So we get negative 18 plus 6, and that turns out to be 12. Over here on the right, we need to do this multiplication first. So we have 6 times 1 minus 3. We do that subtraction, 6 times negative 2. Oh, sorry, this should have been a negative 12 over here. Did you catch that? A negative 12 equals a negative 12, so our answer does check. And there is our solution. Okay, let's step it up just a little bit more. On the next one, we have multiple sets of parentheses here, but the procedure still is the same. We need to get rid of those parentheses, so we're going to have to distribute through both of them. First off, we get negative 5. Watch your signs here. Negative 5 times negative 5x gives me a positive 25x. Here I've got 5 times negative 8, so I get a minus 40x minus 10. And on the right side, since I don't have any parentheses, I can just go ahead and combine those like terms. 4x minus 8x is negative 4x. Combine like terms on the left. There's our constants, and for our variable, we get minus 15x. Since our constants are over here on the left, I'm going to move my variable over to the right. and I get negative 15 equals 11x. Divide both sides by 11, and it turns out that x is negative 15 over 11. It's okay to get a fraction answer. Do not turn it into a decimal, just leave it as it is. That's our exact answer. If we turned this into a decimal, we would get a repeating decimal, and then we would have to decide what decimal place to round to. It would be an approximation. This is our exact answer. Now we can still check our answer. It's a little trickier here since we have a fraction. Anytime I have a fraction or I get into a more complicated equation like this, I just like to rely really heavily on my calculator to check this answer for me. And what I did, I went ahead and typed it into, this is an online scientific calculator, but your calculators would work just like this. This first line that I typed in, this is the left-hand side of the equation with negative 15 over 11 in place of x. And you can see that when we calculate that out, it's 5.45 repeating. And the second line, this is the right-hand side of the equation with our value plugged in for x. That is also 5.45 repeating. So that answer also checks, and we are good to go there. Okay, so it's okay to get a fraction for an answer. We also could have the case where we have some fractions for our coefficients. Now for this one, we could go ahead and start doing math with the fractions in there, but I think it's going to be easier for us if we clear those fractions. So our first step on this one, maybe we want to clear those fractions, and we can do that by multiplying the entire equation by the least common denominator. Okay, our denominators over here are 3 and 6, so our LCD is going to be 6. So I'm going to multiply every piece of that equation times 6. So I end up with 6 times x over 3 plus 6 times 1 equals 6 times 5x over 6. And 6 times 3. We want to go ahead and simplify this now. 6 divided by 3 gives me 2x. That denominator goes away. It cancels with that 6. 6 times 1. Here the 6's cancel completely. We get 5x minus 18. Now we've got a much easier equation to solve here. All we have to do is move our x's over. And then move our constants over. And finally divide both sides by 3. We end up with x equals 8. Okay, again, let's check our answers. I'm going to use the calculator again since we had some fractions in our original equation, but I'm going to let you guys see me type it in here. So our answer was 8. Our original equation was x over 3, so that's 8 over 3 plus 1, and that was one side of the equation. The other side of the equation was 5x, so that's 5 times 8 over 6 minus, got to get out of the fraction there, minus 3. You can see we got equivalent answers here, so that means that our answer for this one also checks out to be okay.